Welcome to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. I'm JJ Flazanes, your host. Thank you for downloading today's show. Today's show is brought to you by PK Feng Shui. PK Odle is a master feng shui consultant and the executive director of the renowned American Feng Shui Institute, where she's taught since 1998. When PK met its founder, Master Larry Sang, she walked away from her corporate career and seized the opportunity to make positive changes in the world by improving clients' health, relationships, and finances. PK will be one of the sponsors at the next big step, and you can come learn from her. You've already heard her on the show. We talked about some of the healing energies that are needed in the bedroom and some of the things to avoid, and she's going to be back on the show, and I'm going to want to talk to her about relationship stuff and how we can use feng shui to improve our energy around us for that. Now, PK's got a self-mastery toolbox that is the only step-by-step system that teaches how to locate and manage precise 15-degree feng shui personal directions according to your date of birth and gender, including your prosperous, consuming, creative, and intellectual directions. PK creates your one-of-a-kind toolbox that reveals your supportive versus sabotaging magnetic directions and teaches you how to maximize them anywhere on Earth for your entire lifetime. Her private consulting firm, the Feng Shui Advantage, offers on-site and remote evaluations of existing structures and project development for residential and commercial clients worldwide. You can reach her at pk@pkfengshui.com. That's pk@pkfengshui.com. Again, pk@pkfengshui.com, or just go to pkfengshui.com to learn more. Or if you'd like to just go straight to getting the self-mastery toolbox, you can go to personaldirectionstoolbox.com. Again, that's personaldirectionstoolbox.com. Today's show is How to Protect Your Energy with a fabulous Lisa Thomas. And depending on which one of my shows you listen to, this is her third podcast. She was first on the show with the title Clearing Inherited Emotional DNA, which is what she does. And also we did Removing Blocks to Prosperity and Love. And as most of you probably know, Lisa is one of my presenters and facilitators at my events. She was at the January Releasing What Weighs You Down. She's also at the Next Big Step, and I believe she is with us again next January for the next Releasing What Weighs You Down. She is a very talented and intuitive healer. She is one of the most gifted people that I have worked with, and I recommend, if you haven't heard the other two shows, that you listen to those potentially first. This is a good show, and I'm great that we're diving into like deeper things about spirit and crossing over and past lives and things like that. We're really getting into like very woo-woo today. But the science of clearing inherited emotional DNA and what comes up for people in terms of blocks for prosperity and love, those can be found on those other shows. So go back and find those, and you can get more information about Lisa in terms of the mechanics of how she does what she does. Transformational Energy Healer Lisa Thomas has the privilege of working with talented people from all walks of life. She empowers individuals to reach their full potential by removing inherited emotional blocks such as fear of success, fear of failure, anxiety, procrastination, excess weight, fear of public speaking, false money beliefs, relationship drama, and business stagnation. Everyone deserves to be seen, heard, and known for who they are. Lisa's expertise in removing negative energy and inherited patterns empower people to get their gifts, talents, and ideas into the world more confidently and in alignment with their soul's purpose. Lisa is dedicated to breaking cycles of struggle and negative patterns, drawing on her lifelong access to source energy and an intense study of various holistic healing methods. You don't have to live with these roadblocks any longer. You don't have to live a life that is less than. Let Lisa help you clear the path. It is time for you to have the support you need. It is time for you to let go of what is tying you down so you can be free to live a life that you love. Welcome back to the show, Lisa.
Thank you, JJ. It is an honor to be here with you. I love you.
I love you. And I'm so excited to be having this conversation because you're so awesome on so many levels, and your unique gifts and talents have been such a blessing to me, and you know what, and actually I think this will be the show to mention and to give you a little bit of credit. I was thinking about how I was doing a show, which by this point has already aired, called Sacred Contracts, that talks about the journey that I've been on recently personally, and the people that helped contribute to that, and some of the practices that I did, and how I sort of manifested a new chapter in my relationship life. And I do give you credit for helping to be a major part of that in clearing away anything holding me back. So for those of you that haven't listened to the show, I'm not going to spoil it right now. Just go back and listen to the show about sacred contracts and know that I did talk about Lisa, and I mentioned how she was one of the people who helped to smooth my transition. So we had done a session to clear away any excess baggage, and her work is very powerful. And while I know that a lot of it does rely on you doing a session with her, she has so much information to educate us on just way before you even get to that stage, things that I know she can help us with to understand, bridge the gap. And I want to talk today about energy, and energy in the way of how, from your perspective, Lisa, even though let's say someone's never going to have a session, they're never going to have a clearing inherited emotional DNA session because for whatever reason, they're afraid of it. They don't think they have any money to do it. So just maybe it's nothing about you, just in general. Maybe they're across the world and don't want to they don't have technology. They just for some reason think it's not going to be for them.
Okay.
In the case of energy, how would we describe, or what would you want us to know about how energy affects us from other people, from the people in our lineage that are no longer here?
Good question. It gets passed down. So they can experience, 200 years ago, have an experience, and their subconscious trapped that experience, the emotion of it, the trauma of it within the cells of their body. And then that energy of that experience gets passed down from generation to generation. And they didn't do anything, they didn't pass it down to us on purpose, and we didn't do anything wrong to inherit it. Is that what you're looking for, JJ? Is how it happens, how that gets trapped in there?
Well, that's a good place to start. This is how it happens. Now, what about energy that comes in and comes out? Because don't we want to try to clear our bodies so that when we have an energetic response to something, an emotional response, that we bring it in, or it happens, we feel it, we release it, and we let it go?
Well, but there's two different things. The energy that we inherit in this situation is with us. It's a vibration. And so it affects the decisions we make and the actions we do not take, because it's an internal belief of who we are. And so it'll block us. So we're talking about the things that cause complication in life, say, not the good things, not the wonderful things we inherit. But the other thing is, then we're going to experience things in our life, and they show up as these emotions and these feelings. And we have a couple of options. We can either squash them, oppress them, hold them down, and pretend because we don't want to feel them. Or I often suggest to my clients, think of yourself as a giant colander in a sense. And it's a strainer, and this icky feeling you have is just going to pass right on through you. You do not have to own it, because many empaths believe they have to own other people's energy, and we don't.
Actually, I'm really glad that you said that. I know you're right. There are a lot of empaths who feel somewhat victimized by the fact that they have to take on people's energy. But you're saying that is not the case. It's something that people can learn how to allow to let go and release from them. Yes?
Absolutely. I'm an empath. I have been my whole life. I work with so many clients that if I kept everybody's energy in, I'd weigh 300 pounds. I mean, I'd be enormous, because energy is a weight to us also. And our body has to compensate. So oftentimes, this is going off into a rabbit hole here, but we'll carry extra weight because we're compensating for the extra energy that we're holding. And we don't have to. So definitely you can be an empath because it's who you are. You don't just decide, oh, I'm going to be an empath. Nobody wants to be an empath. But you can own it because it is a gift, and then allow these things that come in. You have to be aware of what you're feeling at the time and just recognize this isn't mine, and allow it to pass through you.
Okay, so let's first just define how someone could even identify that they're an empath, and then what to do to allow it to pass through them. So let's first start with, because I think you told me I was empathic.
Yeah.
And I definitely have over the years been able to experience the acknowledgement and the understanding that I'm feeling something that I don't think is mine, that I walked in feeling one way and I leave feeling a different way. And it's not necessarily anything that happened in the middle of that all of a sudden there's this energy or weight. So can you explain how someone might be able to identify themselves as an empath or what that feels like to them?
Okay, well, there's lots of threads to that question, answers. So the first is someone who is an empath might have social anxiety. They don't want to be around large groups. So you have to decide, okay, why I am who I am. And if you don't ever want to go out of the house, or you're around people, you're listening to your good friend share a trouble she's having, and you find that you become just connected to this, and the rest of your day is wiped out. Like you have no energy. You're giving your energy away to other people is also something an empath does. Now, let's talk about how you can identify it. So see, being an empath can also mean that you're highly intuitive. All right. So that's why I'm saying there's different, facets to that question.
And that's fine. I want to know how
okay.
it shows up for you, or how you saw it in me, or how it shows up in someone else, because obviously it's going to be different from person to person.
It is going to be different, and it's going to incorporate also other gifts. So let me use the example of somebody that's an empath and they feel other people's energy and they're highly intuitive. Okay. And here's the example. You're in the grocery store. You're in the fruits and vegetables section, and you're walking by looking for lettuce, and you feel on the right-hand side as you walk by, you just feel to turn to your right and look. And as you look to the right, you notice that this individual in the apples they're just picking through the apples, but you get this this empathetic feeling towards them that they're having a hard time. Then you get an intuitive hit that they are having a bad day, but you just keep right on walking. Now, at first, you recognize that they're having a bad day because you picked it up. You turned to the right. You looked at them. Well, see, part of that, your energy field, our aura, crossed their aura, probably. And that's why you picked it up. And it will pick up those vibrations of someone else. And so instantly you realize, okay, they're not having a good day, but you keep right on going. And within 10 seconds, your subconscious has forgotten, or your conscious mind has forgotten all about that. And the rest of your day, you just kind of have this low icky feeling, but you don't know why. It's because you've picked up some of their energy as you walked by. So can I share a tool on how to not do that?
Of course.
Okay.
Please, because that was going to be the next question. How does someone not do that?
Exactly. Well, first of all, you have to recognize that it's happening, because it's just a feeling you get. But before you walk out of the house in the morning, this is what I want you to do. If you're going to be out in a group, or you're going to the store, you're going to be around people you don't know, or even people you do know. Our aura as a whole, okay, extends to the end of our fingers. So if you put your both arms out to your side, all right, and your hands straight out, it goes to the end of your middle finger. Now, if you open each hand, close it. So what I want you to imagine is you're closing your hand around the edge of your aura. And then so your palms are closed, pull your arms in like you're going to do like you're tucking to do a dive or something. And so now your arms are up next to your body, and your fists are up along your clavicle bones, right? So you've taken your aura, you've pulled it in close to you. That's what you want to do.
Okay. So this is what we want to do to protect ourselves from having to enmesh with other people's negative energies.
It's what you're going to do to not have your aura spread out, your energy field, so you're picking up the vibrations of other people.
Does that hinder us in any way?
Oh, yeah, because you forget that it was somebody else's stuff. Oh, you mean by pulling it in?
Yes.
Not if you're an empath and you're going out into the world and you're picking up other people's stuff and it throws you off. Not at all.
Right. It protects you.
Yeah. Now, let's say you've been out and you've picked stuff up. Then what do you do?
Yeah. What do you do?
Yeah. Okay. This is what I do. All right. I then go the opposite way, and I put my hands in front of my heart like a child praying. Okay. and I push my hands out straight in front of me and bring my arms, each one, right and left, back out to the side. So I've done the opposite. I've pushed it right back out. Then what I do is I in my mind's eye, I am, and I pretend like I'm holding 2 white roses, one in each hand. And then I wave my arms with these white roses, and I imagine that I'm dusting, I'm clearing anything that is not mine. And it's just like a magnet, these white roses, and it's picking up all the stuff that I've picked up unconsciously throughout the day that I'm not aware of, that I forgot about, okay? And you'll start to feel lighter. If you can live in the present moment and get in touch with your body, you're going to start to feel this. Then what I do, you with me, JJ?
Yeah, I'm over here doing it.
Okay, fabulous. I want you to imagine, because now what do you do with this, right? So what I do is I imagine that there is a pool of lava in the center of the earth. And I imagine that there's like a little 3-foot diameter hole that goes directly down, this portal that goes directly down there, like an old Star Trek movie. And I drop these 2 roses down there. They fall easily and effortlessly down into the center of the earth, and they explode in this lava. And I imagine them like fireworks, and it's being recycled for wonderful, positive energy for people in the world.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I was just doing it now that you've mentioned that. I'm like, maybe that's what happened to me this week. maybe I just picked up on so much external energy that it just weighed me down and threw me off.
Well, weren't you in airports this week?
I was in airports. I was at other people's homes for the first time. I was with new people. I was with all kinds of different people, actually. I was working and with a whole new company, as well as a whole new family, as well as whole new friends in a place that I'm not familiar with. But besides that, thinking about just energy in general, I remember picking up on something in the house that felt very much like somebody who had passed on, who was still hanging around. And how I could tell, besides the fact that I couldn't sleep in one of the bedrooms very well, so I had to go downstairs to the couch. And I think part of that was also the electromagnetic frequency in the room that I was supposed to be staying in, and the fan above my head. There were so many different things trying to pull me down that I couldn't rest. I couldn't relax. But when I got down to the couch and I laid there for a while, I still felt this presence, and how I could identify it was that I felt like a heaviness on my chest, and it wasn't there prior to trying to go to sleep. So I thought, well, what's this about? And it made me think of you in this show that we were going to record, and how some people feel things and some people think things, see things, hear things. And I wanted to go over the different ways that people can experience picking up on either an energy that hasn't crossed over, or some kind of energetic emotional DNA that they've been carrying around for a while, or like you said, if they're empathic and now they have someone's sticky stuff on them from yesterday or today. What are the different ways? I know you mentioned before we started talking, there were like three different centers, or 3 different ways, like the heart and the gut, and different ways to experience energy. Can we talk about that?
Absolutely. First, this is how I experience it, and how I find that clients experience first picking up on things. And then there's different gifts of the spirit that we could talk about too, which it would be tapping into the other side of the veil. But first of all, you're going to experience picking up on those energies first as a thought. It could be like, I feel like there's somebody with me. Okay. Or you just start thinking about, oh my gosh, I have a great story in a minute, but somebody that you haven't thought about in 20 years that passed away. Well, pay attention to your thoughts, all right? Because more than likely they're around you. Then the next way is in our gut. Our gut is a brain center, all right? And when you just get this feeling in your gut, okay, of let's say this is the tricky thing, okay? Because you can feel anxious about something, and our body automatically goes into anxiety when we subconsciously even think there's a problem. So it takes some discerning to understand when you're feeling something in your gut, whether is this a real fear. It's a process, and I love processes. And then the other way is your heart. Don't forget your heart, because your heart is a brain center that's a feeler also. And that's oftentimes why we will shut our heart down, is because we don't want to feel pain in our heart, but we can feel love. We can feel those goosebumps that come upon us that we know is speaking truth to us. So we can feel it, we can think it. And like you said, JJ, you had a heaviness that you felt.
Yeah, the heaviness was on my chest. Well, it was first a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, the first thought was, is there a person here? The second thing I noticed was that where was I feeling it? It was in my chest, like heaviness on my chest.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't have any emotion about it because I didn't have any relationship to it, except that I did feel like I wanted to. And I did actually whisper out loud. I asked if that person if they would mind sort of just leaving for a couple nights so I could get some sleep or go upstairs or find a place. I understand that they're there for a reason, but I'm having a hard time sleeping, and I would really appreciate if you could just maybe go away for a couple days or go in a different section of the house so that I could sleep. And of course I did get a little bit of sleep downstairs, but it stimulated my brain to think of that, you're working with your gifts, which most of us don't have. And not that we can't become more intuitive and pick up on things, because even before we started recording, I told you that one of my friends and colleagues and actually business partners, those of you that listen to the show, you may know her, Adelaide O'Dunton. Adelaide passed away, I don't know if it was 2 days ago or 3 days ago, but I found out about it yesterday. And she and I were business partners. We had a product called the 6-Week Beachbody program together. And she lived in California for a long time, and then she moved to Florida. She recently had cancer, and she went through some treatments. It was throat cancer. And I even sent out emails and tried to get people to help donate. She was doing a program, and she was doing well. And she and I even had a conversation. It was probably, I don't know, maybe several months ago at this point. But I saw that she had passed on, and I had really figured that something wasn't going on because I hadn't heard from her, and I had reached out via email a couple times. So here I'm learning about this yesterday, and then last night or early this morning in a dream, I had a dream about her. And this is always what happens to me when close people in my life that I have a strong connection with, or an animal, crosses over, and they come to me in a dream, and they come to me in a dream and tell me that they're okay, or that whatever's going on with them, or to let me know. And she was in my dream, and I was crying hysterically, and she was alive in this dream, and I was telling her that she had passed on, and then she had moved on, and that I was going to miss her. And I was hysterically crying in the dream, and she was okay. And we were in a different place I've never been in before, but and I woke up knowing, okay, we just connected, because I don't dream about people like that on a regular basis. So I want to speak to the ways that other people, one more little story, then I want you to comment on these and explain it to people who are listening. Another one of my clients who I love to death, you haven't worked with him yet, you've worked with his brother. And when it comes to being conscious and aware and in the moment in life, is not. He's always distracted. He's always not listening because he's got too much going on. But man, is this man connected when he goes to sleep. His father, his brother, his employees, his past girlfriend, everybody comes to him on a regular basis to have new conversations and new experiences, not memories. And every time he tells me, I'm like, you are just super connected when you sleep. I'd love to bring a little more of that into your awake state. So how can people identify and know the difference, know when it's someone else, it's energy? How can we become more aware in our awake state?
Okay. Well,
first of all, it's a lot. I know.
I want to acknowledge you for not going into fear when you felt somebody in that house. Because the normal tendency, and a lot of people shut down their intuition and their gifts because they're afraid of the unseen. They're afraid of the unknown. And we have Hollywood to blame for a lot of that. Or maybe we had an experience as a child because we're unfiltered then, and that frightened us, and then we didn't have anyone to talk to. That's what happened to me as a child. So I understand the feeling of shutting down and the feeling of being in fear, but you weren't. And so I want to acknowledge that you weren't in fear, because that's amazing. The truth is, we don't need to be afraid. of what we can't see, because we have the body and they don't. And there's two different types of spirits. And the one that Hollywood makes us think that wants to possess our bodies really does not want, they're not interested in our body. Do you mind, JJ, if I just explain a couple things between the two?
Please do.
Okay. So I call those the Darth Vader energy. All right. And they don't want a body. They don't come to Earth for a body. Now, that doesn't mean people that have lived here don't turn to that type of energy. But I'm talking about those that it's their purpose on the other side of the veil to prevent us from living in purpose. That's their job. Their purpose is to make us second guess. It's just I call them minions, and they're not the cute minions that Hollywood came out with. These are just minions that want to get us off of our life path. All right. Then there's those spirits that have lived on Earth. And I refer to them as disembodied spirits, meaning they've had a body and they're not in their physical form anymore. Now, when everything goes well, okay, after they've passed, what happens is they stick around. Their guardian angel is with them, and they're here until they're buried or cremated or their funeral happens. All within a normal range of time. And it's like a gift. Think of it that way. They go around. That's often how come people will know when someone's died, is because those individuals come and say goodbye to them, just like your friend did. All right. They're given that blessing, that opportunity, and they come and they say goodbye. You might feel these goosebumps. You might feel a hug. You might start to tear up, because tears are a way that the body speaks to us also, in truth. Then they go to their funeral. Then their guardian angel guides them into the light. This is a general what happens after we pass, okay? Now, your guardian angel is done with their job once this happens. So they're not going to stick around convincing you to go into the light. Their job is done. It's very organized on the other side. And so you want to go into the light. Sometimes people will pass and they'll go directly into the light, then they come back and still with their guardian angel and say goodbye. The point is that everything is in order. Now, this is what happens sometimes, is when people do not go into their portal of light. That portal closes and they're here in the dimension on Earth, but it's not an enlightened dimension. It's not an amazing dimension. And now they stay for a variety of reasons. They might stay because they had unfinished business. Possibly something traumatic caused them to die and they want revenge. Okay, unfinished. Maybe they died unexpectedly and the person is mourning so severely because they didn't get to say goodbye that they stay close by to try and comfort them. Well, what happens when someone stays to comfort for long periods is it brings the energy down of that individual. Then it doesn't mean that they can never go to the light. It just means that they're here for a while. Now, why did somebody stay in this home you were in? Now, that's interesting. But I feel that individual in particularly didn't feel worthy to go into the light. Now keep in mind, that's what those minions want you to feel. They don't want you to feel that you've lived a life of purpose, or they want you to feel that everything you believe you ever did wrong is magnified so you don't go into the light. That is what I suspect from around the individual that I'm beginning to pick up on that's in that house you were in.
So now in terms of, we talked about not being afraid of those unseen energies, but then you did mention that there are energies wanting to pull us down, or in the case of wanting revenge, that seems kind of scary. But
they can't do anything. Meaning fear is what causes havoc in our life. And if we fear, then we're letting go of our power. Meaning, whether we're aware of it or not, but they can't do anything to hurt you per se, unless you're not, if you're doing drugs, then yes, they can literally take over your body, because you're attracting spirits on the other side that, that were addicted to drugs. So they'll come into someone's body to get that high. But this individual that was in this house could pick up, JJ, that you were sensitive. And more than likely, there's something that he needs delivered. He wants something shared. Maybe he needs help getting back. But he didn't have menace towards you or towards the individual in there. He was just hoping you could help him, is what I feel.
Well, I communicated to the person whose house it was that he was there.
Yeah.
So that's what I felt the job was, for me to let her know that he was there. And I wasn't afraid about it, but I wanted to talk about it because I also wanted people to understand that when they have some of those body sensations, or let's say they're in a state of, because there's a balance here. There's a fine line between situational emotional responses and holding on to, again, situational interpretations of emotions where someone is clenching and reacting to a thought or a feeling or an interpretation. And then if you're in a state of there's nothing triggering you, you're like, nothing's wrong, everything is like, there's nothing going on, and all of a sudden you have these different feelings and sensations. I wanted to be able to determine and like you said, decipher for people, because sometimes people will think, and this is, maybe we should talk about this. Let's talk about Robin Williams for a second. I'm going to give you my take, and then I want to know what you think. When Robin Williams passed away, and when the lead singer of Linkin Park passed away, I did their charts pretty immediately. And there was some comment on Facebook by a mutual friend who had said something like, well, if he couldn't make it, how's there any hope for the rest of us? And one of the things that I'm a big stickler on, as you know, and other people know, is really understanding the anatomy of emotion. Anatomy of emotion and how emotion is created. And this is separate from what we're talking about, but there's a crossover in what we interpret and where did this come from? Is this mine? And I created it, and it's my interpretation, and it's my reaction to feelings and thoughts, or is this something else? And so what we just talked about spirit energies coming in, I want to know your take. But Robin Williams was a Cancer with a Pisces moon. I know he talked about demons and being plagued by demons most of his life, and he had substance abuse. But I also know that as a man, and in this society, most people don't understand emotion. Most people are afraid of their own emotion. They don't know how to process their emotion, or where emotion comes from, or to backtrack and think, is this just a misinterpretation? I know that there's a huge part of that that's a conscious piece. What you and I are talking about and what you deal with is not a conscious piece. It is an energetic piece. True. And so I want to, but they are different. And it isn't that someone's going to necessarily understand and process all their emotion and nothing, and they're immune to inherited emotional DNA. And on the flip side, there's someone who can be cleared a million times from emotional inherited DNA, but still doesn't understand how to process emotion. And I want to bridge that gap. So talk about, my thought about Robin Williams was that part of it was, again, we're dealing with a very, very highly sensitive emotional being who didn't understand. I have no idea what his childhood was like. So I have no idea about his situational things that could have created some of this. But I look at where depression and repression and being stuck for a lot of people creates this downward spiral where then they think there must be something wrong with me. So can you speak to what happened with Robin Williams?
Well, how about I speak to what can happen when someone is suicidal? All right, because I don't know exactly about Robin, all right, Williams. But when someone comes to me and they have those thoughts, or a family member is having those thoughts of not wanting to be on earth anymore and wanting to take their own life, my very first question is, are you aware of anyone in your bloodline that took their own life? 9 times out of 10, there is a yes answer. Or someone that recently died unexpectedly or something like that. And I'll tell you what happens with suicide almost always. There's a few different, you can actually become obsessed with suicide. All right, obsessed in a matter. Now, remember, I'm not talking specifically about Robin Williams. I'm talking about just the experience of what I've had with clients and people talking to me on the other side of the veil. I literally had one spirit who had been attached to his mother who didn't want to live anymore tell me I was so obsessed with killing myself that it was a high when I actually did it. And then I wanted to do it again. And it was kind of like, I know it doesn't make sense, but I wanted to do it again. And my mom isn't happy, so let's just do it again. Now that's sick, right? But you have to keep in mind, it's not a healthy mind. It's
No,
not a healthy soul.
correct. However, I do. Oh, I want to add in Abraham here. Yes, on one end, you would say that that's not a healthy mind, but here's what Abraham talks about all the time in terms of death. That we're so afraid of death. That death is a high. It is a
Yeah.
release because we go
Yeah.
from our weighted, resistant lives to freedom. We go back
Exactly.
into pure positive energy. So when you are so depressed, the idea of freedom is the high
It
that
is.
crossing over and releasing all the baggage that you keep carrying on life is. So in a weird way, I get that. I'm like, oh,
Okay, fabulous.
so I
Okay.
understand that. Continue.
Okay. Well, when they're hanging out with you like that, it drops your vibration. And if I suspect, okay, that Robin really was plagued with somebody within him, sometime when he did the drugs or when any sort of substance abuse. Because what happens when there is substance abuse, in fact, it can happen if you just get overly inebriated. All right, it opens up the energy field. It's like a zipper opens in your aura, and from spirits can enter from the back of the neck, they can enter coming down through the crown, they can enter through the heart. It's wherever it opens, and then they become one with you. Now, it sounds kind of awful, all right, and it does sound frightening, but they don't have to stay there. But the problem is oftentimes they do for a variety of reasons. And so then the thought that other individual's energy blueprint starts to become one with your blueprint. So you'll have random thoughts that you didn't think about, you never thought about, and they become over depression. Always, depression is a major side effect. So is anxiety. It'll shoot your adrenals out.
Okay, so now that we've properly scared the shit out of everybody,
Right.
which is fine because this is part of things that where people are confused because they don't know why something's happening. Maybe this is answering some questions, and we're dealing with some pretty deep, dark stuff here. But
Yeah.
here are the two options that I want to conclude for everyone listening about what they can do about it. So obviously the first thing you can do about it is have a session with Lisa. So she can help you clear inherited emotional DNA and help you decide if there's anybody in there and to help lock them out, and to clear that and to help you get into a better feeling place and hopefully be able to discern the difference. But for those of us that aren't going to have that access, and by the way, Lisa will be at the next big step, clearing throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
Not like every hour or anything, but we'll come up with sort of a collective energetic blueprint that we want to release at certain times throughout, as well as educating you a little bit more on what clearing inherited emotional DNA means and things that we can do ourselves to help guide us and to cleanse ourselves. But so obviously she's going to be my first line of defense when it comes to if you think something's going on, have a session. You can go to healwithlisa.com. That is the JJ special to make sure that she knows you are coming from me and you've heard this show as well as her other 2 or 3 shows we've done. So healwithlisa.com. But Lisa, if they're not going to take a session, what can I do if I have any of these thoughts or feelings about, besides clearing the aura, closing it? Do I clear it first and close it? Tell me the process.
If you have spirits that are pestering, I don't know how to guide somebody to do that individually, because you can go to a shaman, you can come to somebody like me, but it takes somebody skilled in that arena to take care of it. When you're talking about processing emotions.
Well, I'm talking about getting into a place where, let's say someone's hanging out, but it's not a big deal, but I want to, cleanse my energy, protect my energy, invite, me to be in alignment and as strong as and empowered as I can be, like a practice for that.
Okay. What I would do if I'm in a hotel room, okay, or in a situation where you feel the presence of other people on the other side of the veil, is I would ask out loud, okay, for your guardian angels to bring in more guardian angels to help them and to protect you while you sleep. I would out loud ask the spirits there to depart, and ask your guardian angels to watch over you while you sleep. So you can get a good night's rest. It's not because anything bad's going to happen, but it'll help you not toss and turn all night.
That is what I did not do. I asked the person to leave, but I didn't ask anybody to come and protect me or help me.
Yeah. Your guardian angels are always with you. But they're not there to intercede or to take away your free will. And so by speaking out loud, this is, probably of everything, this is one of my best tools to give you today, is to thank them for helping you. And then ask them, say, I've got this going on, and I give you permission. Those are your words. I give you permission to help me in ways that I don't understand. I give you permission to bring in more people to help you if I need that type of protection. And I give you permission to please help me tonight to be able to sleep, to keep all these spirits that I'm feeling or the one away so that I can sleep.
Beautiful. And also the things you've already mentioned about, let's say, cleansing your energy. So taking your hands from prayer position out with the roses and cleansing your energy, and then putting it down into the earth, and then closing up your aura, right? So cleanse it, right, and then come in and protect it. Right.
Right.
And then everything else, would you agree that some of the things we're not going to be in charge of and we can't control? And that's disempowering victim thought, that while it exists, what is it that we can do about it? And that's why I work with the law of attraction like I do, because if we can keep our energy and vibration and frequency clean and high, we're less likely to run into rendezvousing with some of those lower spirits. Yes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you get into anger, all right, you can open up portals into your home that bring angry spirits. So you're just inviting angry people into your life on both sides of the veil. Anger, resentment, bitterness. So to bring yourself out of that and is huge. You're spot on.
Good. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm coming from the channeled work of Abraham, and you are also channeling and intuiting and being clairvoyant. So I'm just taking all the facts of what I think, the facts, the physics of this, which is the frequency and the vibration, right? When we come down to that. And if you are on a really high flying frequency, the likelihood that you're going to interact too much with someone might be trying to get you, but you're not going to be in the same frequency. And you can't, if you're not tuned to where they are, then you're not going to receive them quite as easily as if you were tuned to where they are.
That's right. Exactly. And it's sounding ground rules, and it's all a process to learn how to use your gifts in a way that's empowering.
So talk a little bit as we close up the show, people who've heard you before and they've heard me introduce you at the beginning of this episode. Tell people who have never heard you before a little bit about how you work with people in terms of clearing inherited emotional DNA, if in the case that they're not coming to the event, but they do want to work with you privately.
Well, there is two ways to work with me. You can work with me one-on-one privately. Energy does not have a boundary, so it works just as effective with me if you live in the Philippines or in Canada as it does if you're sitting next to me on my sofa, all right, in a one-on-one. The other way is I have powerful healing meditations that are live. They're 3 times a month. And ironically, this month is on intuition. And the first one is clearing inherited blocks of intuition that prevent us from owning that. Tomorrow night, or tonight actually. The second one is on connecting to your intuition, and the third one will be trusting your intuition. So each month is a different series. I have had a series on money, a series on success. August will be a series on relationships. So there's different ways to work with me that also have a different price cost point.
People can also buy the recordings and the meditations after they're over and use them on their own time, correct?
Absolutely. And they're very powerful. And so I encourage people, when you listen to those replays, that you don't do it like multiple times in a day or every day, but to give your body 48 hours of time to process and heal before listening to another one.
And I was the guinea pig to tell her that that is how it should happen, since I listened to maybe like 3 a day every day for 5 days and got sick. So, so I was like, I'm sick and it's your fault. No, I'm kidding. But I realized that I was definitely, and I was doing everything else right in terms of
Mm-hmm.
sleeping and eating and supplementation and stress and everything was, and exercising. Like I couldn't be more perfect. I'm like, the only thing that was different was that I was doing many, many, many of these clearings in a day's time and then repeating it every day for like 5 days. So I concur and want to encourage you to get your hands on one and do one every 2 days to start. And then as you start to feel like you can handle it, maybe one a day would be probably the most.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you can go to healwithlisa.com for that special on the one-on-one with her. And again, if I haven't mentioned it 50 times already, Lisa will be at the next big step live and in person. And whether it be that you can make the event or you do the virtual ticket, you'll also get the clearings. And here's the difference.
Yeah.
When Lisa does clearings on her group calls, she does them on the phone. You're going to get to sit and see her in person, and you
Yes.
will be able to receive the same energy that the people in the room will get. It will be after the fact, but it doesn't matter. It'll still be a clearing for you, and your subconscious will tap into that and release it as well. So if you
Mm-hmm.
cannot make it to Los Angeles, definitely consider the virtual ticket because it'll be as powerful for you energetically, and you can do it on your own time and you can repeat it many times.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
All right, this is not the last conversation we'll have, and hopefully you will be inspired if you haven't been already to go back and learn more about Lisa and check out healwithlisa.com. Anything else you want to add to the end of this show, Lisa, about the things that we really kind of went on a deep dive today? And I
We
know for some
did.
people it's going to be a little scary, but I thought it was time. We can talk about clearing inherited emotional DNA on a top level, surface level for only so long until people are going to start asking the
Right.
questions, well, what does that mean? And where did people come from? And why are they still here? And how did I get this? And what's going on? And what about spirits?
Mm-hmm.
And what happens when we die?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All
It's
right.
all good. It's
Good.
just part of our earthly experience. It's all good. Educating is always good.
Good. Well, Lisa, thank you again for being on my shows. And I love you.
I love it. And I love you. And I love your audience too. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. so,
Yeah.
so keep it out, guys. Keep spreading the word because you are awesome and we appreciate you. Thank you for listening to today's episode. And I just want to remind you, we have very limited spots left for the next big step. Come on over to jjflizanes.com/next big step to get your live ticket or your virtual ticket if you can't make it to LA, so you can get all the same information in the comfort of your own home. jjflizanes.com/next big step.